What's up guys, it's your style guy Tony and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'll be going over one of the most requested topics, which is the history of avant-garde fashion along with the most notable designers such as Rei Kawakubo, Yohji Yamamoto, and Martin Margiela. Once you get to understand what the design actually means and how the entire style evolved, it's really easy to catch on to the little details and why the designer made certain details in a certain way. So that will be the key takeaway from this video and I hope you guys enjoy it. With that being said, although I'm going to focus on these three designers, it's really hard to neglect the influences of Junya Watanabe or Issey Miyake. And when it comes to modern designers like Rick Owens and Emile Meester, those people, they get an honorable mention right now, but I will focus on these three designers. So let's start with a bit of history of avant-garde itself. When you think of avant-garde, it is a French word, so I assume a lot of people would think that it originated from France. However, if you look deeper into how it all evolved, it actually started from Japan. And it was Rei Kawakubo and Yohji Yamamoto who actually brought avant-garde to the Western world. Also, the word avant-garde is oftentimes perceived as a synonym of deconstructivism, but I'm here to correct that misconception. Around 1980s, as mentioned before, Rei Kawakubo brought the Hiroshima chic look to the Western world. The world has never seen something like this, and especially in designer shows. At that time, everyone was focusing on glamorous looks. It was all about how we emphasize the sexiness and basically anything glamorous. It was that time of period where people wanted to show off and they wanted to show off their wealth. And it definitely wasn't about destroyed garments. When she brought her collections to Paris in 1981, everything was torn apart, there were unfinished stitchings, holes. She even broke her own sewing machine to produce uneven stitchings. And that wasn't something that Paris was prepared for. When designers saw that, they labeled it as Hiroshima chic because it basically looked nuked, and I think that's really inappropriate because Hiroshima has a bad history of actually getting nuked, and the clothes getting nuked, it's just a bad reference. After a decade, Rei clarified during an interview, and she's notorious for not taking interviews because her belief is that the garment should speak for itself, so she doesn't really take interviews. However, during the interview, she clarified that her design isn't about tampering the garments, it's more about anti-fashion. And what does it mean by that? It goes back to the Japanese concept of Wabi-Sabi. To simplify, Wabi-Sabi basically means to accept and embody transience and imperfections. And that's why she wanted to emphasize wear and tear of her garments. Now that you know this, when you look at damaged designs from Japanese designers or even Western designers, you know where it's coming from. It comes from the concept of accepting imperfections and aging, and that's also why a lot of designers focus on aging right now. And speaking of right now, what's interesting is that this concept was developed 40 years ago and is still taking in place and is actually thriving in this place. With COVID hitting and everyone focusing on sustainability, we are more inclined to purchasing clothes that actually age well and actually have natural imperfections because we are going to develop it. Fast fashion is dying rapidly and what consumers want right now is long-lasting clothes. Another notable characteristic of Japanese culture and design, which reflects in avant-garde fashion, is that they're meant to be worn all the time. Think of how we dress in North America. Basically, for every occasion, you're gonna have a party outfit, you're gonna have a night out outfit, you're gonna have your work outfit. Every outfit is going to be different. However, Japanese designers believe and focus on blending one's lifestyle into sort of like a uniform. You should be able to wear whatever you wear to work. You can wear it for a night out, you can wear it to whatever. You can go out, meet your friends, you can stay at home, you can meet your family. There shouldn't be huge difference between different outfits. With this mindset, naturally comes minimalism, and you're probably wondering, how does minimalism combine with avant-garde? Those two are two different things, right? They do have differences, however, the similarity is that once you go minimal and once you've actually embody the design, you're not going to have a lot of clothes, so to say. So keep this in mind and let's see what Yohji brought to the table. Fun fact, Rei and Yohji were actually in a relationship and they do have a daughter, and think about that, you're basically born from two of the most influential designers. I don't know, it probably feels amazing, but still have a lot of struggles. Anyway, throughout his work, Yohji focused more on the idea itself rather than the implementation. Many of his work were actually left unfinished, but it is finished. And whatever design he makes, he tries to reduce it to the essential elements. He tries to take away things, not add on the details, but by taking away things, you can actually add on details such as silhouette, patterns, and texture. This is what separates Yohji from Rei. Yohji is more of an abstract person who focuses on silhouette, and then Rei would come up with more of a bolder design. One thing in common though is that both of them didn't like interviews. They basically thought the garment should speak for itself and no one should really need to explain things, and I think that's true. Like, if you think of a design and someone has to be like, this came from that, this came from like whatever inspiration, like, then that basically means the other person can't see the inspiration. If the design itself can explain the inspiration, and if the outfit itself can explain the inspiration, that's probably the best outfit. And you can see from Instagram, let's say you're looking for like military look, then you know that the inspiration is military, and that's a good look. However, if you look at something like someone wore whatever they wanted, there's not going to be a specific inspiration that people can be like, oh, this is where it came from. And that's kind of what separates good style and like mediocre or bad style. So after hearing all these, you're probably thinking that avant-garde fashion does not really originate from Paris or like Western community. It's more of a Japanese culture thing, and it's not always about tearing things down. Like, yes, Rei also tears things down, and like she has amazing, amazing? Is it amazing? It's like really bold designs. Those designs are made so that they can express their creativity. It's not so much about like general public. And when I Google avant-garde, that's what it shows. Like, the fashion show avant-garde. Like, fashion shows are called shows because it is a show. Like, they're meant to express their creativity. It's not about like, you can wear this in public. You could, but it's hard. To me, avant-garde is more about how you integrate fashion into your life and like actually embodying what you want to dress. With that, I want to introduce Margiela, who has more of a modern take on avant-garde. Margiela is considered one of the best modern designers to pull off deconstructivism, although he claims to hate this word, but it is what it is, like it's labeled deconstructivism. He launched his company, Margiela, in 1988, basically when all the designers were aspiring for like glamorous designs and sexy looks. Starting from the beginning, he didn't really focus on that, he focused on the structure of each garment. Also, he is often cited as one of the Antwerp Six, along with like Anne de Meulemeester and Dries van Noten. Although he graduated a year earlier, but he is kind of considered Antwerp 6. If you're interested in learning unique designers, I really recommend searching Antwerp 6 and you'll get a lot of information. And going back to Margiela, despite his luxurious background, graduating from Antwerp Royal Academy, which is like one of the best design schools, he set up his workshop in the suburbs of Paris. This was actually to embody his design approach, which is not about like how expensive does it look, but it was more about how can you focus on the fundamentals and play around with that, like reorganize the fundamentals to come up with a really unique design. He believed that the design should interact with the wearer so that the final shape of his design should be determined by the body shape of the consumer. So then how does this play a role in avant-garde? The fundamental approach of Rei was to allow the design to embody the wearer's lifestyle. Margiela showed a similar take on his design, which is basically leaving just the fundamentals so that the wearer's body shape actually changes what the design looks like. So when you're looking to purchase like designs from Margiela or actually appreciate the designs of Margiela, what you need to focus on is like, how do the fundamentals play a role in this design? It's not so much about like different details, it's more about like, how does the fundamentals play? I can't word it in a different way, but that's what it is. That's for the general public and what you most likely will buy. With that being said, Margiela also does a lot of like extravagant shows like Rei. He has like designs that has like hairs for shoulder pads. Those just don't wear it. I know you're not gonna wear it, so those are shows. Shows are meant to be shows. So I hope I clarified what avant-garde really means versus what pops up when you Google avant-garde fashion. To wrap things up, I would like you to take away how avant-garde fashion evolved by basically accepting age and flaw. And from that, there are two main branches. One is more focused on like wear and tear, which is like Yohji, Anne de Meulemeester, and like Rick Owens. These designers are more focused on the silhouette and like the profile and how the actual garment plays a role in your life. And the other one is more focused on modifying the fundamentals, such as like Issey-Miyake or CDG from Rei Kawakubo, and like Margiela. So after this video, when you look at different designers, and especially when you look at the ones that I've mentioned, just focus on like what is the designer trying to emphasize and what brings value to this design, because that's the only way you can truly appreciate it and it'll help you dress much better. I hope you guys got a good understanding of how avant-garde fashion evolved, and knowing these details of like what the designer thought of will really help you decide which clothes you want to buy, because if you're a person who likes to play around with fundamentals in your life and like you just enjoy that, then go with the designers who play around with fundamentals because that actually fits your characteristics. Whereas if you're more about like wear and tear and aging, then go with the designers who actually focus on that. Considering these are kind of like the advanced level of styling, but even if you're super new to clothes, it doesn't hurt to notice, and I really think this will bring value to your shopping list. So that's the end of my video, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and see you in my next video. Bye!